Hey, man. Episode 103, This Life in Tech. I'm Jason.
And I'm Dan, coming in live from God's country in Ann Arbor.
There's some nice snow in that tree back there in that courtyard, man.
Dude, there's a lot of snow. I stayed here an extra night. The snow stopped sometime around, I want to say like 4 or 5 o'clock yesterday. And it's cold. It's it's like -5 degrees right now.
And that's without the wind chill too, probably, right?
Yeah. So there's not a whole lot of wind right now. At least there wasn't yesterday. But out here, yesterday wasn't quite as cold, so the snow came, everything's great. But I mean, sidewalks were clear like that. I mean, it's no joke. But this morning, everything, whatever, it's frozen now.
Yeah.
It'll be kind of interesting driving back to South Bend.
We haven't gotten any snow here, man. It was a little rainy last night, off and on, and it's been cold, relatively speaking. But yeah, my parents in Northeast Ohio got plowed too by snow.
Oh yeah, I bet. So it's good. I'm glad that at least I'm inside with the snow. But the good part is like there's some really, really nice places here in Ann Arbor. So I went out to dinner and then a cigar. So
how'd that go?
Dude, it's funny because so the one place I went to, there's only a handful of places that have grandfathered in to where they can have cigars.
Yeah.
And they have a certain amount of their sales has to be from cigars or they can't have it. Ventilation is amazing in the place on top of it. But the one place, so they actually, in their basement, I don't know what they called it or whatever, but originally it was like dirt basement on the floor.
Yeah.
Not enough ceiling to be able to do anything. So they dug down and they hit rock. So they actually had to blow up pieces of it. So you can, I mean, it's a cool, I guess decor in there, and as to how they did, because so they left like the rock in certain ways to kind of come out, but it's rock, and I think that's why they call it rock bottom in terms of the basement part.
Oh, that's clever, dude. That's clever.
Yeah, and I had some bourbons that I had never heard of. I sent you one of them, which was great, right? What was the name of that one?
It was it had something to do with chickens, man. I want to say it was a chicken farmer, but
yeah. Let's see.
I got it. Chicken Cock Heritage Blend.
Yeah. So I sent that over to you.
Yeah.
It was tasty.
And I'll be honest with you, man. As a prospective chicken farmer, I have no idea what corn pudding is.
I don't know.
I've never heard of that.
But one that I want to try, I mean, it's got a cool bottle, and it's called Lusty Claw. I didn't get to that one. There's only so much bourbon I can have in one day. But I had this I.W. Harper. Oh, that was good.
I've heard of that. I've never tried it.
I was tempted to do these ones called Blood Oath. I don't even know how they can consider this a bourbon, to be honest, right? And the reason is that you've got 4 distillers get together, and they all made their own like batch, and then they dump them all in together, and that's like their blood oath for the year. But I'm like, wait a minute. But what if someone doesn't use what if their concentration of their mash makeup is completely different?
Right.
And what if one of them keeps their stuff in the barrel for 5 years and another one 7 is the ones they're bringing to the table? I mean, doesn't that change things? I mean, that to me should just be considered whiskey. But I don't know enough yet about all the bourbon laws. Maybe there's some loophole, or who knows? Because it's not all from the same batch.
Right.
I don't know, but I wasn't going to pay $60 to try it either.
No, see, where I come from, we call that a Boilermaker.
Yeah.
Where you just randomly mix stuff together.
Yeah. Now if that for $60, if they had like Pappy 15, I'd have paid $60 for that. One drink. But I'm not when I'm out, I'm not paying more than $20 for some whiskey. That's my limit when I'm out. And it better be something I've never tried before. Or Pappy 10.
I'll tell you this, man. I haven't had a drink of anything in 20 days.
Well, you got no one there to drink with.
No, man. I got 10,000 feet of climbing to do in this first 100-mile race. I can't afford to be carrying extra alcohol weight.
That's why, whiskey is only 60 calories for 1.75 ounces.
Yeah, I know, man. Actually, if you're going to drink, whiskey's one of the better ones. But no, man, I cut it out. Gone.
Just don't eat lunch that day.
Yeah, well, you say that, and that's a great idea. Until you get into your third scotch, and you're like, dude, I could really use a peanut butter sandwich.
Yeah. When's your race?
Oh man, when's the first one? March?
Okay.
Yeah.
On my IDPA event. Dude, I'm getting good. When I was out last weekend, I did these ones where it's basically all these cards. So you've got 52 cards. So I was like, all right. I'm going to have the royal flush with hearts and then diamonds, going out and I'm like, got it. I mean, I'm not hitting right in the center of the card, but I mean, I'm hitting the card. So
man.
From 35, 40 feet. So much further than what I'll probably have to be shooting at, but I need to find some cheaper ammo to practice.
Yeah, it starts getting expensive, doesn't it?
When you buy it in bulk, it's not too bad because it's like 9 cents a bullet.
That ain't bad.
But it adds up when you go and you shoot, 200 rounds.
Sure, it does.
Not bad. I mean, you're talking about $20 to practice.
Have you thought about pressing your own cartridges?
I've thought about it, but I just don't. I mean, I don't have the time for something like that.
Well, at 9 cents a bullet, I don't know that it's worth it, to be honest with you.
If I was starting to shoot a lot, like in the event that I go to 3-gun, which I might do that in the future for shotgun shells and rifle, then I will, because now we're starting to talk.
Yeah,
it's expensive. Or if I really started shooting like a 45, then absolutely. But shooting 9mm, I don't know if it's worth the time. I just don't think it's worth the time for that.
That would be my guess. If I started shooting a long rifle, I think I would think about it because it gets expensive pretty quick.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, I think for the 223, 556, they're like $1 a piece.
Something like that, right?
Yeah, and that, now you're talking a particular 200 round sessions, $200. I'm like, but then again, I might just, I might get one and not necessarily. I might just stick with IDPA. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, if I'm out and about and something were to occur, I mean, I'm not going to have a rifle on my back,
right?
Nor a shotgun, but it's likely I'll have my my firearm on my side.
Right. I don't know, man.
Hopefully, I am never put in a situation to where I would ever have to use it. That's just it's the same thing with martial arts. You practice.
So let me ask you, when you're shooting training, do you have a coach or do you have somebody that observes you to give you pointers or point things out to you?
I have. I don't do that every time, but I've gotten lessons. Mm-hmm. And on Wednesday nights, they have at the place where I go, defensive league. So they put you in different scenarios, and then you talk to them. Hey, how do you do this? What do you look at that? I mean, super, super cool people. And even that's one of the things I've noticed so far, even with the people that are in that, and it's like it's $10 for the night, and for the league, and they calculate stuff course, one of the first times I was like looking at things, I'm like, how many points do you take off if you they put like people in the way that you're supposed to like get them out of the way? Like how many points do you take off if like you hit the innocent? Oh, it's like 2 points or something like that. I'm like, So I shot the innocent. That way the person should be dead. Get out of my way, and I get clear shots at everyone.
Like fucking Speed with counter reads.
I'll take off that 2 points, but then I don't have to worry about moving around. The person's gone. Not really supposed to do that, but I'm not saying they've changed the rules since then, but they've changed the rules since then.
Well, because it stands the reason, man. If it's only minus 2 points, but I can save more seconds in time by doing that.
Yeah. So I just went, well, that, but then I'm not distracted, and these other people are better than me.
Right.
Better at moving and shooting with one hand. I mean, I'm not that good yet. So I'm like, well, that person's gone. Now I have. If you purposely hit the innocent, you're disqualified.
Shoot the hostage.
Yeah.
Well, I ask about practice, man, because I've thought about getting a cycling coach, but man, unless I start getting close to getting on a podium, I don't know that I would. And here's why: the technology is so advanced, man, that I started using this new training software. That because of the equipment I have, the technology like in the bike itself, man, breaks down even my pedal stroke. So I'll get a radiograph that'll show left and right leg balance and where in the spin I'm losing power or gaining power. So you can work on like pedaling efficiency and things like that, which is really, especially grinding up 10,000 feet, is going to be pretty critical.
Absolutely.
So you can create situations in which you have your own critiqued practice very frequently. And like even this week where I was sick, dude, I still put my miles in. I got on that bike. So I'm sick on a bike. Who cares?
Yeah. I've definitely had a couple of lessons, and I would like to get more. One of the things that there's only so many things you kind of like try to work on at one time.
Right? Yeah, right.
Just like no difference in say martial arts. You go there and you have an instructor critiquing you all the time, or in any sport. In these cases, it's not as readily available. Probably the same thing with yours. And probably the only difference is that while in the type of category I'm going in, the technology isn't as important because there's too many restrictions.
Right.
If I go to the next category, then we were talking now. All of a sudden, you might be able to have scopes. You can do stuff with the trigger. You can change out a whole lot of stuff.
Oh, gotcha.
So even if I were to try to buy like the next type of handgun, it wouldn't work in this one either because there's restrictions in terms of how the overall length of the gun, the height of the gun, and you have to put it into a box. Like they basically can it fit in or not.
Yeah.
And you that's why you also they can tell if you've got if it's stock. So basically I'm using with stock weapon. I go up to the next category, then all of a sudden the in terms of the type of gun, all of a sudden now like the one that I have with the Witness, if I were to go to the Witness, the next category, barrel's longer, I wouldn't be able to use it. Right. So my is 4.75 inches in terms of the barrel. Overall length of the gun is 8.75, which is the max. Overall length is the max. Anything you go to the next category, all of a sudden now the gun's overall length is 9 inches. You're not getting in there. Right. So what I've looked at is all these guns that are basically like that. Now there is one exception, but I don't know who's willing to drop $3,500 on a handgun. Maybe I'm sure there probably people are, but I'm not dropping $3,500 on a handgun
yet.
Well, if I start placing, then absolutely, because then what I'm talking about is they start making everything custom for you.
Right.
It's a gun, and there's some places out there that do that, and they've got a great reputation.
Well, and I say that, man, because the first road bike I bought for like I think $1,200, which is still on the high side, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I told myself, dude, I don't know why or how I would ever get to a place where I'd pay 5, 6, 7K for a bike. And let me tell you, I did. And it's the best bike I've ever ridden in my life, man.
Oh, sure.
It makes a difference. So I'll tell you where I will spend money, though, which does matter, is getting the bike fit to me.
Yeah.
And so, like, fortunately, Winston-Salem has a big, healthy cycling culture. There's a dude right down the street that I'm going to go to. It takes like half a day. And they essentially hook you up to a 3D motion capture machine on your bike. And they'll measure all the angles across your entire body and they fit to the geometry of the bike. And they'll just make little micro adjustments.
Well, those things are pretty important. You know,
Yeah.
one of the things that we were looking at yesterday in class to kind of put this in perspective. There's this company that Oracle bought a couple years ago. And this claim for this company was basically they were in your bill letting you know how much power you were using compared to your neighbors, trying to basically like shame you. So over they saved like this area something along the lines of 20 terawatts of power. That's this in terms of what they saved. That's the same thing as taking the country of Spain offline for a year.
Right. Yeah, that's a lot of power, man.
So the professor was asking him, like, well, what kind of, you know, this, I don't believe your data. Let's get into it. And they're like, yeah, sure. Let's, you know, glad to walk you through it. Basically what it did was each person in the area that they were doing, I don't remember the area. I don't even know if they said it. They only had people adjust. It was by 2%. 2%. And of course, now you're talking, that's not a lot. But it's no different than we've kind of talked about before. One ant can't build anything, but 1 billion of them could build a cathedral. Well, you get one person saving 2% is nothing. But 1 million people, dude, now you start talking, those numbers just start multiplying quickly.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Like,
little micro adjustments make a huge difference.
Yeah, the term that's bandied about in cycling a lot is marginal gains, which comes from the British cycling team. So think about it, though, man, 2%. But 2% over a 6-hour event. I mean, that's substantial. And that's how you look at like the aerodynamics of it. So, you know, you can look at it in the micro, which is, let's say you save like 1% on because your aerodynamic position. But you're going 1% faster for 6 hours. So, I mean, the multiplier on that is huge.
Yeah, it's a lot. So when I start getting in, I mean, I don't know if I'll ever buy one of those kind of guns or not, because I don't know that I want to go up.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm more interested in as I start getting a little bit better with some of the lessons that I've had. I'm kind of treating it like I did golf. I want to see how I do. I'd like to be able to get it to where I can film myself and see how that's a little bit, that might be more challenging because there's a lot of people in there typically, you know, shooting. So I'd have to, I'm sure it's possible. I'm sure I could get them to do it. Then I could see how, because I know if I'm looking at anyone, I can tell where their body weight is. So I can see, I know what it's supposed to look like. And I can tell by looking at body weight, whether or not someone's forward, backward, leaning left, right, posture. So I know all those things just from the amount of time I've spent in martial arts, I can tell.
Yeah, well, and it's just the concept of film review. Yeah. Same thing.
Yeah. So, but I definitely plan on getting more lessons at some point. Just don't know when.
Yeah, well, like I said, you know, with my first few races, I've kind of set out the objectives of the first one. I just want to finish. That's it. I just don't want to be very, very last. That's it. I can be second to last. I'm fine with that. I just don't want to be dead last. And then after that, because I have 4 selected, but I only set 3 to do. So I gave myself a little bit of flexibility. Then I just want to progressively ramp it up until, you know, maybe in the last race I finish in the top 50%.
Well, what are you going to do if you finish dead last? You're never going to race again?
No, I'll just be upset.
Why? You finished the race.
Yeah, well, but that's my goal, is to finish the race, but just not finish dead last.
I think you get 2 different goals.
Fair enough.
Because I mean, if you finish the race, you've never done something like this. So just finishing, bam. And then even if you finished last, I would be like, well, okay, you missed your secondary goal, but your first goal was done.
Well, in my experience, I've never done a gravel race. I've done 100 miles. Granted, I got lost halfway and had to abandon, but hey, fuck it. In my experience, even when I used to ride in the big group and stuff like that, if you're not in the top, let's say 25 people, you're usually riding around people. So in my head, I think, okay, if all I want to do is finish, I'm probably going to be in the slower group, which means there's going to be people around me. Well, dude, when I get like 800 meters out, you bet your ass, I don't care how tired I am, I'm going to sprint. So, right? I mean, it's just the competitive instinct. So,
yeah.
If there's only one person in front of me, man, all I got to do is get to 800 meters, and I know I can turn it out.
What if they're all thinking the same thing?
They ain't going to be thinking that, man. 100 miles, 10,000 feet of climbing. If you're in that B group at the end, you ain't thinking that. Trust me. Now, maybe I'm going to be wrong, man. Maybe I'm going to be wrong. And I'll have to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm looking at the same thing with this IDPA event. I don't care if I finish dead last or not. I've never done anything like this before. That's not even my goal. My goal is to try to finish in the, like, whatever I said, in the top 10 in one of these events by the end of the year. I don't know if I'm going to do it or not, but unless I push myself, I won't know to find out.
Right.
So,
and I think to me, that's the strategy of how I'm going to push myself. Because, like, you can train. The training is so scientific, man. It's all laid out for you. It's actually really easy to come up with a plan. The hard part is getting up every day and doing it, right?
Yeah, or you know, as my famous philosopher used to say, you can have the best laid out plans, and it all goes to hell once you get punched in the mouth.
That's true, dude. I mean, I might get halfway up this mountain and decide, dude, this is too much. It could happen.
Well, you could pop a quad.
I could wreck.
Yeah.
I mean, well, and that's what happened to me when I got lost, man. I got lost because, well, okay, so here you go. This is a funny story. I don't know if I've ever told you this. I don't know if I've told this on the podcast. So I entered this 100-mile race, okay? And it's not like a race. Like, there ain't no prizes. But come on, man. You're racing. And it's a lot of climbing, dude. It's a lot of climbing. And part of it follows the Tour of California professional. This is the world tour professional race. So this is serious climbing up these mountains, right? This is a road race. And like the first 20 miles, dude, I'm doing pretty good. And so you're separated by group. So like the 50-mile people, they leave at one time and they race. And then so forth and so on. I'm in the what's called a century or 100-mile category. So we all leave at the same time. And I'm in like the front group, man. And I made a critical mistake, and this is what it was. I get to the second aid station where you can stop, refill your water bottles, get like a granola bar or whatever, right? And it's the bottom of a big hill. And I think to myself, I got a bottle and a half full. I'm going to blow through this because I don't want to stop, get off the bike, and then have to immediately go up this giant hill. I want to keep my momentum going, right? And everybody's turning off into this aid station. I'm like, screw it. I'm just going. And I blast up this mountain, get going. I'm way ahead of everybody, Except I got ahead of the people that were laying down the directions. Right? And I miss a turn. And I don't know that I miss a turn until I realize, dude, I ain't where I'm supposed to be. Now, my bike computer has GPS in it. Okay? And I look at the GPS, and I'm looking at where I'm at, and I'm looking at the cue sheet of the race. And luck would have it, man, I get lost in a way where I get onto a street that has the same name as the street I'm supposed to be on, but it's not the right street. It's crazy. California has this all over the place, dude, where there's like, in the same city, there'll be two different streets with the same name, but they're not the same street. Okay? And I get lost, man. I go to a gas station, and I ask them, and they have no idea what I'm talking about. And I try to call the race coordinator, and this dude's not picking up his phone. And then I run out of water. And dude, it's like 120 degrees. It was really hot. And I'm like, man, maybe I just got to call this. So I called Marcia, and I'm like, hey, listen, I think you're going to have to come pick me up now. This is like a week before Lily was born, too. So Marcia's like super pregnant. Super pregnant. She's with two of our friends. I'm like, I think you got to come get me. I'm lost. I can't find my way back to where I'm supposed to be. I think I'm just going to call it. And now I'm getting dehydrated. I don't have any water. And then I pop a flat and I fix it. And I pop another flat. And then I pop my front tire. So now I have no tires. So I can't ride. And I just sit down. It was the saddest thing, dude. I sat down in the shade by a telephone pole. And it was like an hour later, they finally found me. It was crazy.
Well, at least the good news is I think at that point you were probably still using that less than optimal iPhone. And so you were able to send your GPS coordinates directly to Marsha's.
You would think that. No, that's when I had that Galaxy S4.
Oh.
So I couldn't pin my location to her.
I hate Samsung products.
And I'd gotten so lost, man. I was like out in the desert a little bit, the high desert. And
that's hilarious.
Yeah, that was intense. But anyway, that could happen again, man. Who knows? Anything could happen. I'll be upset. I don't think I won't be upset to the point where like I'll throw my bike away and quit racing. But I'll be disappointed in myself.
When I would play golf and I watched people like throw their clubs and stuff like that, I'm like, why? You paid good money for that stuff. I'm not.
No, well, kind of like you said, all it's going to do, if I don't finish or if I finish dead last, all it's going to do, because I'll get upset with myself, is make me work harder for the next one.
I don't think there's anything wrong if you wind up failing, because it's just, no. I hate even saying the term like fail fast, things like that. You didn't fail, you learned something. Learned fast.
Well, I think it's fair to call it a failure. I mean, if you set an objective and you don't meet it, that's a failure. I don't have a problem with that. Failure won't make me not do it again.
Yeah.
I'll just feel like I failed, which, you know what? Sometimes you need to feel that kind of suck. You know what I mean? It's motivating. For me, it's motivating. Because dude, it ain't going to happen a second time. I can promise you that. Even if I got to trick people,
I'm not opposed to that either.
Well, dude,
he ain't trying.
This is one of the reasons why I decided I wasn't going to road race anymore. Yesterday, day before yesterday, there's a big professional race in Australia right now. And man, this dude got kicked out because he headbutted a dude. Listen, because you're riding in tight quarters, man. And when you're jockeying for a position, it matters whose wheel you're on when. It's very strategical. And this dude wanted to elbow his way in, which happens a lot. You like shove people a little bit. And the guy didn't move, so he just and right on film. I mean, the helicopter was like right on him.
It's gonna be a little bit more strategic when you headbutt someone.
Yeah. So I think the culture with the gravel racing is a little more relaxed, man.
Well, you'll find out. 2 months.
I've been headbutted, man. You just don't crash.
Yeah. Stay up. Stay up. So speaking of crashing, it's a good segue. We were talking offline about, you saw this big password dump. Oh
yeah, man. This is so interesting to me. And not the cybersecurity of it. Hold on, let me bring this back up. 773 million passwords in this dump. And apparently it's only a partial dump. It's 87 gigs in size. Dude, that's a lot of plain text. And so, go ahead.
Yeah, sure, that's a lot.
So what interests me about it isn't not the cybersecurity so much of it, but the business of it. Like, imagine that's your business, right? Which I can imagine. I mean, I wouldn't personally be in that business personally, but people clearly are, because this is being sold on the dark web. I think this dump was like $50.
Well, because one of the things that you had brought up, and I'd been thinking about it, is whether or not these things are legit. So I don't know that it matters if it's legitimate or not. And here's why. As any hacker or pen tester, they need hashes. They need word lists. So even if someone did randomly come up with some things, that just adds to my own personal word list.
Right.
Essentially to try passwords out on. Or if I wind up getting to an area and I wind up getting also a hash dump, I can now check those hashes against my password database that I've built custom over the years. And if there's a match, I got in.
Right.
And is that $50? Maybe.
Well, but it makes me wonder, like, because we can agree that organized crime's behind at least some of this stuff. Maybe not this one in particular, but some of it, right? Like, do you think they do like a cost analysis, or do they do like a market focus group to figure out how to price these things?
Yeah, absolutely.
I would think so.
It's no different than, I mean, it's the thing that people don't understand, or bad actors, hackers, the organized crime community, they have roadmaps, capabilities they're trying to build out because their whole business is how am I going to compromise you and get your data and then sell your data.
Right.
Right. And they have to do the same thing that we have to do on the good side. How am I going and get people to buy? So they're doing that same thing. Zero doubts about that. So really this is where, even though every single security expert out there has said for like the last, 15 years, this will be the year that we get rid of the password. Until you do, these things still become an issue. Sure. Now you've got others that, we've seen him, quite often on LinkedIn. He constantly keeps talking about direct assertion and indirect assertion of identity. And he still does not explain what direct assertion of identity is, doesn't quite understand it. While he is correct in his notion, we currently only best we can do is an indirect assertion of identity. Direct is not direct. So and we either need something like that or we get better at our indirect assertion of identity, which is multi-factor. And until that happens, these passwords are valuable. And even if it's just valuable on my own personal database, $50 and I got 750 million passwords. How many of those do I need to be unique?
Well, right, because that's another question I've been wondering about. Currently. Yeah, well, that's another question I've been wondering about. Is I wonder how much that $50 investment, how much wealth that generates for the person that pays it. I mean, who knows?
Well, I don't even think so. That's the hard part. But let's say you have 750 million passwords. That's still, in one, they're not going to necessarily be valuable immediately. Right. It's buying futures in the frozen orange juice market.
That's right. That's right.
So maybe that $50 is worth something 10 years from now. I don't know.
Well, and some of the reporting I was reading about this data set in particular was articulating the idea that some of it at least 2 years old. So it's worth $50 when it's 2 years old. I wonder what it was worth when it was fresh, let's say, and not widely distributed. Because of course, you would agree things like that have more value when they're not widely distributed.
Absolutely. When you're taking a look at credit cards that are being sold, ones that have been compromised within a couple of days are worth a lot more than those that are 2 years old, because more than likely they've already changed the number or something.
Right.
So the number that $5 million, less than a penny. Don't even know what the math is, but certainly less than a penny a password. How many of those do I need to be unique in my own personal database? 10, 100, 1,000, a million? I don't know. Right. But that's where the value comes into when I'm looking at that from either being a pen tester, because now I might be able to show my prospective employer, hey, look how good I am. I got into your stuff. Or if I'm the cyber criminal, hey, I was able to compromise some accounts and I just was able to extract $10,000.
Right.
That's the part where I look at that. It is interesting to me that it's only $50 because that's a lot. Each are these things from? It's worth anything to me.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're right. I was surprised it was that cheap because, I mean, $50 ain't that expensive for that much data, man.
It's a lot. It's a lot of data. But so I don't know what will happen with it. It wouldn't surprise me because here's the other part. It's $50. It's not going to just one person.
Right.
So now you have diminishing returns because everyone has access to the same $50. And depending on how they did it, what if there was no passwords at all? You're
Right.
paying. There is no honor amongst thieves, folks. So you're paying someone $50, and they're like, "Oh yeah, here's the file." I mean, it could be garbage data. You unlock it, and you're like, "There's nothing here." Whatever.
Right.
That got $50, or that we'll just say that cat, 'cause it could be a man or a woman. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, because what are you going to do? Report him to the Better Business Bureau? I mean, there's no recourse. But you got to charge it back. I mean, you ain't using your Visa, or if you do, holy shit.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
You probably have a bigger problem.
That's like 1/20th of a Bitcoin, right, or something like that.
Yeah.
1/20th of a Bitcoin. So I don't know, but it's funny to me.
Yeah, but the whole business part of it.
Also dark web for doing different projects.
Mm-hmm.
Exploits as well when doing different things, testing stuff out. But it wasn't my money. I didn't care.
Right. Right.
If it was my money, no way. But there's a risk associated with it. How do you know that you're really going to get something?
Sure.
No,
it then makes me wonder if there's like dark web business advisors. You know what I mean? Like business consultants. Because look, man, I have to imagine some of this organizational machinery is pretty sophisticated.
Sure. And then how do you decide you want to get into that business? I mean, Don Corleone chose not to get into the heroin business.
Right.
Not because it was not good, and he wished him very well in his endeavors, and thanked him, but didn't get into it. Mainly because he's like, well, the people who allow me to set up these gambling rings, those are vices that are acceptable. But heroin? No. A lot of people, I think, missed this one point in there, though. What he did find out, they don't really talk about it, but he found out the other families that were involved in it. Intel.
That's right.
I had no intentions of saying yes, but I wanted to know who else was involved. Because now maybe I can push out some of my competition in a different area. Like, hey, these people are doing this stuff. Same thing. I mean, it's
right.
Not a business I would want to get into.
No, I don't personally want to be involved in it. But
I'm too pretty to be in jail.
What's that?
I'm too pretty to be in jail.
Yeah, I know, man. That makes two of us, dude. But that doesn't mean I'm not curious about, like, in this case, the business operations.
Yeah, I would love to be able to, like, I don't even have to sit down, and we could do it over, any number of different, like, chat stuff to find out, just to talk with them about that piece. There's no way they would ever do something like that.
No, man. The only thing I've ever read that came close to that, do you remember, I think it was in Freakonomics, that I think it was a sociology professor found a drug dealer that essentially had a business degree and was keeping like very sophisticated accounting books and stuff for his drug operation. I think it was Freakonomics.
Yeah, I mean, those things are more likely because you could find them. And they're not as worried. I mean, it's like I have not seen the show, but I know the premise. Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
The teacher, a science teacher, and then starts making like meth or whatever, and starts making money. I didn't know that's kind of the premise. I mean, this stuff happens.
Sure, it does.
There's money involved. For me, it's my code of honor. So I need to do it the legitimate way. I'm willing to take shortcuts, but I'm not willing to break the law. Not like that. The only laws I'm willing to break are speeding.
Yeah, right, man. No, I'm with you.
Those are administrative fines.
Well, it's the cost of doing business, let's say.
Yeah. Other than that, not really. How you doing on your other goals so far this year?
Not too bad, dude. This week was a little bit of a setback being sick. I had to rest up a couple days, but I just double up the next couple days. You know what I mean? And I get caught back up. Things are moving along the plan. My privacy book is pretty much done. I just got to polish the conclusion. Then I'm going to set that aside and then come back and edit it.
Right on. Yeah.
How about you?
That's all. I mean, this week, it's not a wash because of in class, but I didn't get as much reading as I wanted done. I mean, I got learning more and more about the aspects of making spirits, researching the laws associated with kind of ventilation, and I mean, I get the reason why it's not so much the taxes, which I mean that's the primary motivator for ATF to not allow you to do it, is because they lose out on making a lot of money. Spirits are the most highly taxed thing in by the federal government, so they make a ton of money. But it's dangerous. I mean, this stuff's highly combustible.
Oh yeah, actually it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and then not only that, like the first part that comes out is highly toxic. So you've got to know how much to take out, and So I'm reading up on it, learning more. So that keep practicing with the pistol. Reading is, dude. I'm just this for me. 50 books is going to be hard overall. I mean, I purposely push these things on intentionally to struggle. I put them out there. I got Do I believe I'll make all of them? No, but I'm going to do everything I can to try. Like the very most difficult one. I know I'm probably not going to produce a bourbon this year, just because it's cost prohibitive. Like when I made these goals, I went into it like, this is something I would like to do. I probably won't make that one, just because I'm not going to shell out 14 grand to go contract it out. I could. I just don't. I'm not willing to do that.
Yeah.
So I consider myself an entire failure if I don't get there, because I'm learning a lot about something that I want to do. It just means that I might contract it out next year. Now that I know, okay, it's 14 grand. Well, that means I got to save up 14 grand. I'm not taking it out of my savings to go do something like that. But if I save up, we're not talking about a bunch. If I can just figure out how to put away a couple $100, here and there, eventually I'll get 14 grand.
Well, and I think there's a meta lesson in there too about even planning itself and how to deconstruct things into small pieces. And well, like with the race, yeah. So you're right. It's two different goals. Just finish. And then the secondary goal is, if you finish, just don't finish last. Okay.
Yeah.
That's probably a better deconstruction of the whole thing anyway.
Yeah. The one that's the most achievable, of course, is publishing a paper, getting a paper written for me, which will be that, and the reading of the books. Those are the two most achievable.
Yeah.
Finishing in the top 10 or whatever I said in an IDPA event, that's all dependent on the competition. So that's not entirely in my control. And then I know with making the bourbon, right now 14 grand is very cost prohibitive.
Right.
So I might not make those two.
Well, right. And so, I mean, to be fair, saying that you're not willing to output that much cash up, because it's really not even an investment, right? You're just spending money. Isn't the same thing as not doing it because you procrastinated. It's not even close to being the same thing. Right.
So I've got my notes. I'm reading some books on it. I'm reading articles. Dr. AirPods sent me an article, which was pretty cool. It was good of him. So I'm saying I'm making progress. I'm making the progress that I would expect to make. I wish I was doing more, but I don't have. I mean, I'm able to read what I'm able to read.
Dude, it's the 20th of January. There's a lot of year left.
True, and I'm reading multiple books at one time, so where it doesn't look like as much progress as I would like. When I go about to it, more than likely by the end of January, I'm going to have these first 4 books done.
Right.
Because I also have to do other stuff. Not to sit down and read.
Well, man, you might have a day in the future where you take a long flight, like let's say to San Diego or something. You know what I mean? And dude, you can read a lot on a plane.
That's true. And I am going out to RSA conference. I think it's in March or April in San Francisco. So,
yeah, man. Between the airport on, your departure side and the plane itself, dude, that's a lot of time to read.
Yeah.
It's uninterrupted.
Yeah, pretty much. So, all right, my friend. I think we're about.
That is episode 103.
Yep. All right, friends.
Take care, everybody. Be safe, bro.
Next week. Peace.
Bye.